the time y'all time to make some serious groceries.
Yeah, that'll hold cornmeal for sure. You know, instead of bouncing around out on the open Gulf today, we're back in the dead-end canals because we're getting closer and closer to that season, fishing speckled trout.
Would you look at this, y'all? I'm catching me a mess of fish, but that's because I know all the right spots. And you can too, with my Frank Davis fishing map. And in New Orleans, you gotta have oysters for the oyster dressing. Lots of oysters. I mean, lots of oysters. Lots and lots of oysters. Folks, yesterday we made groceries. Now today we gotta process all the groceries so that we can have something to cook with. The celery, the bell pepper, the onion, the garlic, the parsley, and of course don't throw away the giblets. You gotta have the giblets if you're gonna make cornbread dressing. You need the heart, the liver, the gizzard, the neck, and the piece that went over the fence last. And don't be afraid to use the butter. Weight Watchers won't care, okay? They're not eating your turkey anyway.
Hi, welcome back to Celebrating Culture. We're here today at WWL Studios with Eric Paulson. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Charles.
So, Eric, Frank Davis, an icon in New Orleans for many decades, and you worked with him. Where did you get started?
Frank was quite a character.
And probably the strangest of them all, Kawan. Now, the rest of the world calls the Kawan turtle. Here we call it Kawan. But I'll bet you that half the city has no idea what a Kawan is.
He was with the Wildlife and Fisheries Department, and they started doing fishing game reports for WWL Radio. And then I first met Frank in the early 80s.
Most of us know that Frank Davis will fish anywhere as long as there's a little bit of water around. So when word leaked out that there were hundreds of fish and thousands of gallons of water here at the Aquarium of the Americas, Frank Davis showed up.
Be biting the dink.
Hi, Frank. My time is 2 o'clock, Frank.
I can't catch him down here.
Is Frank Davis in this building? Thank you. Base. Would you believe Frank Davis is there with a fishing pole? I can smell the babies.
It's changed a lot since last time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the place. Oh, man. This is the place right here. Ooh, look at those babies. Ooh, hit a bite already. Oh, that's my luck. You found a good spot and somebody else wants it.
He was just a natural on TV, just a natural, period. Frank was brilliant. I mean, he really was smart.
He did a lot. He produced a lot.
He was almost kind of like a Renaissance man in some ways because he could write, he could produce, he could star in, he could play music, he could sing songs, he could cook. I mean, it was just great.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my kitchen.
They actually named a bridge after him.
I was there for the ceremony.
Now, what was that like? Because was that where he used to fish all the time when he would do his shows?
That was one of the places. He'd fish, all over the area, but that was one of his favorite spots in Lake Pontchartrain.
And the city got behind that. That was a nice dedication. It was pretty big.
It was a state representative from Slidell who kind of backed that one and got it going.
WWL had a good team there of people. You said a few words.
I said a few words. Sally said a few words. It was like old home week for us, and we're just so glad to be part of it.
And one thing I loved is when Mary Clare cut the ribbon, it looked like she looked up to Frank.
I think she was.
Now on the set, were they always so close?
They were kind of like the mom and pop on the morning show every Tuesday. They were in the kitchen every Tuesday morning. Mary Clare, and she was a natural. She was like, his right arm.
The recipes, 4 cookbooks. What else was he doing with New Orleans?
He kind of like showcased New Orleans. The station took a big chance on him because when they decided they were going to bring Frank on television, I mean, here's a guy who had really no training in TV. They kind of thought, well, this might be a long shot, but he's kind of a naturally New Orleans kind of guy. They coined the phrase naturally New Orleans, and it became a thing, and then Frank just fell right into it. And then he knew stuff. I mean, he knew the city very well. I always said Frank was kind of like those buggy drivers in the French Quarter. I'm not sure the history is totally accurate, but it's very entertaining. I just say, Frank, is that actually a fact you're saying, or is that something you think? And he goes,
And now you kept up the Naturally New Orleans piece in WWL. That still exists.
Yeah, Channel 4 owns the franchise on that. The pieces he did with Benny Grunch and the Bunch on the 12 Yats of Christmas.
And now for something very naturally New Orleans this Christmas.
On the first day of Christmas, my mama gave to me a crawfish they caught in Araby.
And Santa and his reindeer used to live right here.
You know, I'll bet you your whole life you thought that Santa and his reindeer always lived at the North Pole, right?
Siding on the side, washing in the rear.
Well, I got it on real good authority that Santa and his reindeer used to live right here.
Santa and his reindeer used to live right here. Here's a Christmas story that you probably didn't know. Like most Christmas stories happened long time ago. In a renovated double near Broad and St. Bernard lived a fat little hippie with some livestock in his yard. There was elves in and out, a refrigerated van. People thought it was a daycare or a snowball stand. Been a bunch of tenants, been a bunch of years, but Santa and his reindeer used to live right here.
These look like Hollywood productions. I mean, they're really well done, and Frank was the producer on those.
He did really have a big talent. And,
Yeah.
And you guys honored him with the kitchen.
Yep, it's the Frank Davis kitchen in there. The kitchen always just seemed like it was Frank's place.
He is naturally New Orleans, and that is part of our culture. Eric, thanks.
Charles,
Say it
great-
a few
great
words.
seeing you.
and Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of Celebrating Culture.
Hey, y'all, what holiday are we going to celebrate tomorrow night?
Halloween!
Halloween, and who's going trick-or-treating?
Me!
Who wants to carve a pumpkin?
Me!
Do you want a happy pumpkin?
Yeah!
Or do you want a scary pumpkin?